All right, in this video, we are going to explore the Vendor Center. So to get to the Vendor Center, it's actually now called Expenses here on this tab, and I'm just going to click on Expenses, and what you can see is we actually have several tabs. We have Expenses, we have Bills, we have Vendors, Contractors, Mileage, and 1099 Filing. So let's just quickly walk through each one. So the Expenses tab is going to show basically our money out transactions. You can see here if we sort by type, there's purchase orders, there's bills, and we saw bill payments and checks. There's credit card expenses. So pretty much any form that we can use to send money out in QuickBooks Online, you'll find here under the Expenses tab, not just the expenses form, which is kind of funny. So you can customize this here, so you can look at open, overdue, or paid, which we'll show you in just a moment on the Vendors tab, how we already have a bar that handles that for us. It makes it a lot quicker. You can sort by payee, you can sort by category if you're just looking for specific expenses, and of course you can filter by date. So this can be a useful menu if you're looking for a money out transaction or you want to see all of them in one place. The Bills tab will actually just show you your bills. So we go through this in another video, so I'm not going to spend very much time here, but we have for review, unpaid, and paid. And again, I'm going to show you how you can see all of these right here in the Vendors tab. So in the Vendors tab, we have this cool bar, and you might be thinking, this looks familiar. Yes, it should. It's just like the Customer Center, only instead of looking at money in transactions, we're now looking at our money out transactions. So if you click on any of these colored sections, this one here is our purchase orders. So it shows our unbilled purchase orders in the last 365 days. You can see here for this purchase order, it's an open and we can either create a bill or create an expense from that purchase order. If we click on the orange section of the bar, this shows us our unpaid or overdue bills. So again, we have this drop-down arrow. We can create another bill, we can create an expense, or we can make a payment on that bill. When you see this checkbox, I don't even know the word, checkbox, then you can actually select all of the checkboxes below, and that gives you your batch actions. So in this case, we could email all of our past due bills, or we could make those vendors inactive. I'm not really sure a scenario when you would want to do those things, especially if you have overdue bills. I don't know why you'd want to make the vendor inactive. Doesn't seem like a great batch action to use. All right, we can also see our open bills by clicking on this gray bar. So this will show everything that's open, whether it's past due or current. And then finally, this last bar shows us our paid bills in the last 30 days. Now, if you want to see paid bills for a different time period, you actually can, let me just click this again. And if you click clear filter view all, that's going to clear that filter and show you everything. But I wanted to do a filter for, paid in the last 60 days or something different. And we don't have a great option right here because when you clear the filter, it just shows you everything. All right. Now, this again, if we just clicked on our vendors, this is going to show us everything. And we can sort by vendor name, by company name, in case if it's different. We can see their phone, their email. And this is a useful column if we have them checked for 1099 tracking. So any vendor that you need to issue a 1099 for, you'll want to make sure that this box has been checked, or when you go to e-file those 1099s, no matter how you've categorized the transactions, they're not going to pull in without this being checked right here. If you want to see what other options we have, click on the little gear icon. So if you want to see if we have addresses and if you want to see if we have attachments, you can check the box for that. If you want to see your inactive vendors as well as your active vendors, you can click include inactive. And if you want to see more or less on a single page, you can adjust that there. Now here's our tab for our contractors. So these are people that we know we're going to send 1099s to, and you can click prepare 1099s, or one of my favorite features, click add a contractor. And when you put in that contractor's name and email, Intuit is going to email them for you to collect all of the 1099 information that you need so you can actually prepare their 1099. So that's very cool, saves you some time. assuming that your vendor is responsive. Now, best advice for you or for your clients is always get the 1099 information, so the W-9, before making payment. It's going to be a lot easier to get people to comply if they're waiting on a check. All right, if you have a client or yourself is using mileage, you can use the mileage app inside of QuickBooks Online, or you do have an option to add trips manually. And then finally, if you want to see your 1099 filings, you can come to this tab here. You can look at the current year or previous years and see those reports, which is interesting because this didn't used to be an option. So previously, Intuit would have you, when you did your 1099 filing, it would take you to this like separate window and they'd say, hey, make sure you've saved a copy of all of these by April, and they'd give you a set date and they'd say, because after that you won't have access, and you didn't. So it's very cool that now they're saving your 1099 filings for you so you can access those through QuickBooks. Something else that's interesting, you used to not be able to issue a correction to a 1099 within QuickBooks, which was a nightmare. So if you missed a transaction that belonged on a 1099 for a vendor and you needed to file it again, you'd have to go find another app to file the corrected 1099. So this is pretty cool that we now have an option in here to correct 1099s in QuickBooks. All right, so again, this is just a quick tour of our vendor center. If you want to go to your vendor center, again, it's here on the left-hand menu. Click on expenses. You can also click straight to any of those tabs, or you can just use the tabs at the top of your screen to handle all of your money out transactions.